Hey, what's up, you guys? So today I finally get around to doing something that I was doing many months ago. Like, I think the last time I did one of these was like back in February. I might be wrong, I didn't even check. But basically, I am going to keep sharing some of my high school memories and experiences. You guys know that I love school, and if you've been watching me for a long time, occasionally I mention how I used to want to be a teacher and all that stuff. So when I was still in high school, like late junior year and throughout senior year, that's when I really started writing and journaling and keeping a written record of memories and all that. And I envisioned turning all of those memories into videos because I feel like it's a good way to just look back and compare how stuff has changed and how much I remember and whatnot. And honestly, telling stories is my favorite thing to do. So, just to give you a heads up, this is not going to be one of those discussion videos or informative videos. This is just going to be me sharing my memories and experiences. So, there's really nothing to take away from this. There's not going to be like a message that I'm trying to send out there or an opinion or something like that. This is just stuff that happened during my school experience. So if you're not into that kind of stuff, then I want to save you the time and trouble, and then you can just visit next time. But yeah, so here I go. This was French 1. This was the only French class that I dared to take, and that honestly I had the patience and tolerance to take. And what I mean by that is, it's not that I hate French as a subject. It's just that I personally like to define myself as someone who has a learning disability when it comes to languages, because I just could not retain this very well at all. Like, my brother was able to, and I'm always thinking about him and how he can speak French and read it and write it, and I'm just mad jealous of him in a sense because he just has that ability to him. But at the same time, I'm not mad because I knew that that was a weakness that I had. Like, I am average with numbers. I am really good at grammar in English and all that. But when it comes to anything else, is just tough for me. And of course, social studies is easy. How can you mess that up? But when it comes to actually learning a new form of communication, to me, it's just crazy. So, anyways, um, my French class happened during my sophomore year, and yeah, let's read into my first memory. From the moment that my teacher would start to speak until the moment she concluded, if ever, she had me intrigued and amused. I definitely owe her plenty of my wisdom. I loved her accent and facial expressions. She reminded me of my own self as she spoke. I always back up what I say with evidence, and I have the ability to expand the topic even more willingly. So one day, as our teacher spoke, she had her eyes fixed upon my close classmate at the time. I'm not going to mention any names. And she would not change her view to anything else. She stared at him like a hawk. And then my friend is my friend. So when he noticed this phenomenon, he asks, "What's wrong with your face?" And our teacher, dead stare continuing, stops talking. Immediately, my classmate's reaction was, "Oh, I didn't mean for it to come out like that." And then he starts laughing. "What I meant was, why are you looking at me like that?" And then our teacher simply said, "This is the face I was born with. It's the only one I got." And I just could not do it. I could not take that. I was laughing so much. I put my head down and I started giggling, holding my tears back. I vividly remember how I had the corner of my eyes had tears in them, and I was wanting to laugh like so hysterically and so loudly, but I just couldn't do it. I kept my composure, But that was such a good memory because I remember my classmate. He's the kind of guy who is kind of extra about everything. He was like so dramatic, and he also took theater. He took classes like that. So he can very easily project that type of a character. So I think that's what made it even more funny. But then it doesn't help that our teacher was naturally funny as well. And she's one of those folks who, she was, of course, an older lady, like in her 70s around the time that she was teaching us. So you know that when someone who is old like that starts talking, they just don't have a stopping place. So that's exactly how she was, and maybe that's why I was fascinated by her, because she had so much to tell, so much experience. So for me, it was fascinating when she would get sidetracked, especially given that French was something that I just was not retaining. I still passed the class, I still made an A in it, but I just did not develop my skill to have it in a conversational level. I can look at it and some stuff I can understand. And when it comes to listening to someone speak, I don't get any of it, especially if the person happens to be someone who speaks fast. I don't get it. I understand Portuguese better than I understand French. And I've never taken a Portuguese class. So it's crazy how that works. One day, our teacher was doing her regular lecturing, except that out of nowhere and inexplicably, her glasses just broke. I remember this. She was just sitting down, and maybe a screw had been loose for long, and maybe she just turned her head or something, and they just broke. I remember that because she asked me to go to another teacher's classroom that was like, it was like one building away, to get a glasses repair kit. And I just, on my way to that classroom, I was just laughing because I sat at the very front. So I saw this firsthand when it happened. And I was just mind blown. I'm like, how did that happen? How do glasses just break like that out of the blue without a trigger? You didn't bump into anything. You did not have it stuck in your hair or anything. She had short hair, so it was like as if a ghost just took them and decided to just rip them apart. The lens and the screw and the leg were loose. I told her that I knew that one teacher had an arsenal of tools for fixing glasses, because one time, back then, I remember the glasses that I had were the ones that I made a video about. If you've been watching me for a long time, you know what video I am talking about. And she noticed that I used a paper clip that I had completely deformed to like cut it and twist it so that it would keep the leg of my glasses attached to the frame. And then she was like, honey, that's dangerous because at any time this thing can come loose and it can poke you in the eye, or someone can bump into you, or you can be in PE class and this thing can just shoot and poke you in the eye and you're going to have a new load of problems. So how about if I fix that for you? And she did. So it's like that had to happen to me for me to be able to save my French teacher's life when it came to her breaking her glasses, because as far as I know, she really, really needed them. I mean, from what I remember, she was farsighted, but she still needed it to do basic teaching stuff such as reading and all that. So it would have been very tough for her to go about her day without them. Relieved, she gave me her glasses and asked me to go to her room and asked if she would be kind to repair them and to pardon the interruption. I did so gladly. My classmate buddy and I wanted to hug each other from how badly we were laughing. But the story doesn't end there. Karma came to settle debts with me. The next day, or 2 days after this incident, my glasses got loose during her class. And I remember this so vividly too because I think we were watching a movie or something, I remember the lights in the classroom being dim, and then I like the leg of my glasses just fell, and then I was just horrified because I was asking myself, I know that there's another piece to my glasses that I needed to be looking out for. It wasn't the screw, because of course there was no screw, but actually that's a lie. This is when it had the screw, because my that one teacher who had the kit had repaired them. So I was looking for that one screw because I feel like my teacher told me, oh, you're lucky, this is the last screw of its kind that I have in here, so I'm able to fix this because it's the last one that I have and it's available, so please make sure that you don't lose it. So I remember getting off my desk and desperately like shoving my face to the ground almost, and just using my microscopic vision and looking for that little screw, and I was able to find it. But fortunately I am nearsighted, but at the same time unfortunately, because I had to get really 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 close to the ground, and that was just not a fun time. But I think it's crazy how it seemed that all glasses were cursed under this classroom. Um, let's see. My classmate and I were about to cry from so much laughter. We couldn't believe it. That was truly mind fucking. On another occasion, our teacher talked about how she had a French friend and she only visited her house once. Also, she talked about college experiences and told us girls to be careful with boys. Never be stupid nor allow yourself to be controlled. I definitely applaud that. One very memorable thing about this class was the day of open house. She asked another classmate to find a box and dump anything that seemed to be misplaced in the room in it. She referred back to us at the class saying, guys, life is really simple. Her technique has saved me from so many hours of enslaved cleaning. And basically, her philosophy is, if you don't have time to clean, which this is probably not news for anybody, but if you want to have your place looking all neat and tidy, all you gotta do is grab a big box, and then anything that's just randomly misplaced, just dump it in there, and whenever you get time or a chance or the will to address it, that's when you pull this box out and you do something about it, which normally you don't have the time or patience nor willingness to be working on that. So I know I don't. It takes me years to get back to a box where I dumped random stuff at. But anyways, I just love how she said, life is simple if you let it be. And ever since she said that, I have such a more positive view on how to handle tasks. I never let them stress me out like I used to. I also remember how she was playing a movie and said, amazing, with the push of a button, something comes to life. One day, either the TV or VCR was acting up and she said, oh my, the only thing in this room that seems to be fully working is me. Oh goody. I hated those two words combined and exclaimed, because anytime she said, oh goody, that means that she either found the material to give us a quiz, to give us a test, or give us homework. And I was not particularly fond of assignments in French. Inside a bag, she had found some quizzes and other test materials. She had something to give us. I became overdramatic and said, no, Miss Teacher, we don't need that. We always pass your tests. Besides, that means more grading work for you. She said that was all right. She'll be convinced that we know the material only with experience and exposure. And I was like, darn. And at the same time, now that I'm an adult and I think about it, grading stuff is actually good for her because that means that she has work to do. And the way to get paid is by working. So yeah, you guys, it appears that those are the French class memories that I have. This particular teacher unfortunately passed on about 3 years ago or 2 years ago. I forget if it was 2015 or 16, but I liked her a lot as my teacher. I remember her from my brother is older than me, so he got around to her class, of course, much sooner than I did. And that's when I met her. And I remember I was meeting her when I was like 11, 12 years old. And then to be on her class some 5 years after, it was particularly something else. And I know that she looked forward to me, given that I'm my brother's sister. And he was one of her top students, if not the top student of his class. So I told myself, you know what? Of course, I want to challenge myself and continue the legacy. But I just knew that language skills are not really my strength. So I wasn't really trying too hard to beat my brother's record or to take as many classes as he did. I think he took it all the way up to level 3, and I think there were 4 levels to French. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where we moved into that district and he had already 1 year down of high school, so there was not enough time, school time, for him to take all of the French courses. But I don't know if I'm remembering this right, but maybe he was able to squeeze level 4 into his schedule while taking another class. And then he would take the tests of a level 4 student and still get graded as such and get the credit for the class. I don't know if I'm remembering that right or if that's what another student did. But at least he had options. He definitely learned it. He had French books. He could speak it. He would speak to me in French all the time. And I would be like, what? And then that's when he would show off even more. And it's not that it would irritate me because I think that French sounds pretty appealing. It sounds pretty fun. But at the same time, when I'm trying to have a legit conversation with you and you're pulling that off, it gets kind of annoying. And as a kid, I was not particularly the most patient person. So I used to get really annoyed and really mad easily. And I would like just um, like start slapping his arm or something out of desperation and frustration. And I would be like, English! And and I would be all irritated. but but now looking back, I wish that he was still around or that he would have been around the time that I was taking French because I'm sure that I would have practiced more with him and he could have helped me. And also, to this day, sometimes when he texts me, especially for my birthday, he actually wrote it out in French. And for Christmas, he also sends me that. I know how to spell it, I know what the words are, but I do not know how to say it. It's like a name, like Noel, and it has I forget the name of that accent that has the two little dots on top, I think. But yeah, and then it starts off with the word joy and then it ends with an X, something like that. And I understand what he's telling me. He's telling me Merry Christmas, but I would not dare to attempt to pronounce that to save my life because I have never heard it being said, and even when I hear that being said, I cannot say it. And then another person who who I was jealous of who could speak French was my best friend from back then. She was super fluent at it. I'm pretty sure that she took all 4 levels of it. I remember her talking about it. And I always wished that the two of them, my brother and her, could just meet and then start talking and all that. And then I'll be the less cool one of the 3 of us who cannot understand anything. And sometimes I consider going back to it and reviewing it. Like, I watched a YouTube video a couple of weeks ago of a lady teaching the more basic French stuff, and I remembered all of it. I remembered how to say it, I remembered how to write it, the very basic things. But the more it advanced, the more I said, this is not the right thing for me. But anyways, you guys, I'll try to do more videos like these because this was a project that I told myself I wanted to do, just put all of my experiences from my journals out there that I consider worthy. And of course, I wanted to do all of my school memories since I took so much time and effort to write them down at the time that it was happening, and storytelling is probably my favorite thing in life to do, my favorite hobby. So, of course, if I have the channel, why not do it? And this was one of the first goals that I set for the channel anyway. I just happened to take a different direction since time passes, you evolve, and new topics captivate you, but storytelling will always be my favorite thing. So I'm going to try to do at least a couple a week and see how it goes. But yeah, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed me sharing my story. It's probably not funny and not that entertaining, to tell you the truth, but again, I love to tell stories. And if you guys ever took a French class, or if you are a native French speaker, uh, let's read it or let's hear it. Leave me a comment, tell me your experience, or if you had French as your class, how easy was it for you? How difficult was it for you? And what was your learning source? Mine was called AMSCO by Dr. Bloom. Gloom? Anyways, something like that. And I still have some of those notes somewhere lying around. I am not going to look for them, but my teacher said that that was the best source material to learn this stuff. And I found that very effective, come to think of it. So, yeah, just tell me some French class stories or some native French stories. This has the potential of being really fun. So anyways. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.